May 9th. You know what that means? 34 years ago, Jerry the King Lawler first won the AWA World Heavyweight Championship from Mr. Perfect. May 9th. Then and forever, Jerry Lawler Day in Memphis, Tennessee.
Power Pro Wrestling. Power Pro Wrestling. Power Pro Wrestling. The Power Hour.
Gives me chills every time I see it. Hello again, everybody. Randy Hales, welcome to the Power Hour. Welcome to the show I've been wanting to do for a long, long time. This is one of not, if not the best Power Pro wrestling programs we have ever done. Also, I have a very special guest today. I'm as excited about it, but as we do at the Open every single week, Adam comes in here and tells us everybody commenting what they're saying to us, and he will also do the lineup, tell you what's going on the Rumble on the River. Come on in here, Adam. We got stuff to do.
All right. Hey, good afternoon, Randy. And yeah, already some comments pouring in from our good buddy Randy West. He says hello to both of us. And from across the pond, Panetta says hello, everyone. And Mike just came on here. He said hello, guys, and that he's ready for another big night of action on the show here tonight, Randy. So already off to a good start.
All right, let us know what we're going to see today on the Rumble on the River.
Well, I mean, the Rumble on the River, I know we've shown it several times. Everyone knows what's going to be on that. I think we should get to the guests, don't you think?
Hey, I think he just went away. I gave him a direct order, and he's not going to do it. But in all seriously. Now, folks, I don't get nervous doing this. This is not my first rodeo. I don't get nervous at all, but I'm a little nervous. I got a little chills because I'm so excited. Because by the end of this, the introduction, I'm going to tell you right now, I may have a few tears. And I bet you every bit of money that I have, my special guest may have some tears when he comes on here today. First of all, let me tell you, from the time I was 10 years old, I wanted to be in the wrestling business. There was no doubt in the world that's what I wanted to do. There is so many wrestlers, so many promoters, so many referees, so many wrestling business people in my life I've met, acquaintances, good ones, had a lot of fun together. But in this business, that's pretty much can be a cutthroat business, pretty bad. You have very few friends, and you dang sure have very few laugh long friends. Let me tell you something about this guy that we're bringing in just a few minutes. He's one of the lifetime friends, even though he's quite a bit younger than me. Lifelong friend, because I can tell you, maybe every once in a while he's not real quick to return a text. Maybe he's not real quick to answer his phone. But I can tell you, this guy that's going to be our guest today, I can tell you there's several times in my life when my brother-in-law died, when my sister died, and when my mother died, which was absolutely the worst day of my life. Brandon Baxter answered the phone like he always had. If I had an issue right now and say, I've fallen down and broken my leg, he'd get his butt in the car and come help me. Brandon Baxter has a lot of the same parallels in life as I do. And I think that's probably why we get along as good as we do, and it probably at times why we fought like brothers and ready to fight. It's because we're a lot alike. We have the same story, and I love the fact that we have that same story. From the time I was 10 years old, I wanted to be in the wrestling business. Everybody told me there's no way in the world, Randy, else can you do it? But I did it in Plano, Texas. Brandon Baxter said, I want to be in the wrestling business. His pops, his nana, his mother, his brother, his sister, everybody says, you can't do it. You can't do it. But he absolutely did. He absolutely did. I was 13 years old when I ring announced in Jonesboro, Arkansas. What did Brandon Baxter do when he was a teenager? What did he do when he was a teenager? He was on television. He was on ESPN. There you see. You look at that shot because he knew right then what he wanted to do. Then it was a night after graduation. This is how much he wanted the wrestling business. The night after graduation, and he headed to Memphis in July of 95. And there we saw our first look at the female fantasy, Brandon Baxter. And of course, can I say more about my right hand man? About sometimes it got heat on him, even though without a doubt he was the number 2 babyface in Power Pro Wrestling. In some cities, the number 1 babyface. Maybe that got heat with a few people, but Brandon, by my side, Power Pro Wrestling wouldn't have been. I wouldn't have been. And then got in the way. Power Pro went away in April of 2021. I was able to do other stuff, had a 12-year career that was great, and then done hits and miss. Brandon became a star in local radio. He's the most listened to, the most recognized radio media personality in general. Heck, at one time he had a billboard in Jonesboro. In my own hometown, I had to drive down the street, and Brandon Baxter, we shot an angle out of this, by the way. Brandon Baxter's on the billboard. Brandon Baxter is my friend. He's nothing but class. And I'm going to find out so he can tell you guys how you can listen to him, like Panetta, that's halfway around the world in Thailand and watches this show every week. I love Brandon Baxter. I love the fact that he's here today. He obviously can figure out the technology quicker than anybody. Welcome to this show. It's back to the Power Hour. Here we go again. Hey, Brandon.
Wow, that's a heck of an intro, right? I mean, I don't even know how to
Did it make
respond
you
to all that.
cry?
Well, I mean, I sit here and it makes me think about all the years we've spent together and all the moments, the good and the bad. And we've had a lot of happy moments, a lot of sad moments. You know, we were there as Power Pro launched together, and then we were there as Power Pro closed. And then all the stuff that was even more important, which was the family stuff that happened. So just to have the invite to join you and Adam tonight and to reminisce about some great days is amazing. I look back on my career in Memphis, and I think that, you know, if it wasn't for wrestling, if it wasn't for Memphis wrestling, my life would have been so drastically different. It set me up to do what I'm doing today. And I think I do it different than most people around here on the radio and really probably around the country in a lot of places because of that wrestling experience. So much love to you. You've always been, golly, the big brother, the father figure. You've done all that stuff for me. And you've been there when it was, you've been there to tell me I was doing great. And you were there to tell me those harsh lessons and that harsh news I didn't want to hear. But you were always honest. You were always upfront, and I always knew, much like you said about me, that if you needed help, I was there, and if I needed help, you were there. And you can't find friends like that every day in the wrestling business.
All right, I'm so proud. As I meant to say this, I had in my head, when have you ever seen me rehearse anything in my life? None, right? Zero.
Not very
and
often.
I rehearsed this to get in my head, and I forgot something. The main thing I'm proud of you more than anything, you're wonderful, wonderful. I'm going to have you tell a little story. You're a wonderful husband to Leslie, and you're a fantastic dad to Kai. However, I happened to be in, my mother was still alive, happened to be in Jonesboro. You gave me a call, and I didn't even know you were dating, much less fixing to get married. And called me,
Oh, yeah.
seeing I was in Jonesboro, and you said, Randy, can you get away and go to a bachelor party with me? I thought, well, that's a weird oddball invite. Hadn't talked to him in years. And I said, who's getting married? And he said, me. And so he was getting married,
That's
and
all
I went
true.
with him and some one of his co-hosts and his future father-in-law and different people. You tell the story where the real RH. By the way, you were showing me off. You were feeding me. Tell them this story. Tell them this story. And because we all have great stories, and I was the center of attention, but you're the one that did that. You had me tell the stories. But then we ended up having issues. I want you to tell that story on was his name Booger?
Booger, yeah, he was my co-host at the time on Kiss FM, and I thought for me to be getting married, it was only appropriate for you to be there. Somebody who had done so much and meant so much to my life, even though years had happened and things had gone on, and you and I hadn't been in touch on a regular basis. I knew that if I was going to get married, you needed to be there. So the bachelor party was a couple of real close friends and my father-in-law, and we decided to go out to a steakhouse, have a couple beverages, and celebrate the end of bachelor life. And Randy, of course, I might have stirred him up a little bit because I know Randy. Randy's not hard to stir, and I know what to do. I know what buttons to push, and I hate to say I can manipulate some people, but Booger was manipulated into standing over Randy and taunting him. That was the whole vision. Randy isn't really that tough, Boog. You can take him. And Booger got up and stood right behind you and started trying to talk to you and talk trash to you. And the next thing we knew, in the middle of this restaurant, there legitimately was a choke slam because Randy had had enough. Randy reached back. He picked up Booger by the throat. Boom, choke slam through an old wooden table. Now, the table didn't break like they do on television, but the table fell over, and Booger hit the ground as fast as he could. And everybody in the restaurant, Jerry's Steakhouse, Truman, Arkansas, they turned around to see what was going on. It sounded like a bar fight, but everybody else was laughing. Booger got up laughing because I think he learned a lesson real quick that when you take one of those old school wrestling guys and you try to call them out, those guys don't back down. It's like the old Bill Watts thing. You can't go into a bar and lose a bar fight. There was no way Randy Hales was going to go into that situation and be punked out in front of everybody. And, well, Booger, he was the one that got punked out. Pretty embarrassing in the moment, also very fun.
I don't know if you know this story. The next day was your wedding. So he came up to me, and he came up to me. I didn't know this at the time, to apologize. And he came up with me. I said, let me tell you something, you son of a, let me tell you something. And see, I don't know if Kai's with you, so I'm watching my language right now. I said, let me tell you some son of a gun. If you F up Brandon's wedding, I will take you out in that effing lake, because your wedding was at a lake. I said, I will take you out in the effing lake and I'll drown your ass. Yeah. Right now, I said, I swear to God. I don't know if you ever knew that.
Well, no, but I know you well enough to know that would have happened, and you would have tried that. And then fast forward a few years later, we did a wrestling event at that very same lake. We did Fourth in the Forest there, and I took you out into that lake and tried to drown you
did.
In the middle of a wrestling match.
That's not very nice, and that was a lot of fun. Real quick, I want Adam to pop in here if you can, and Adam, just recap us on any comments that we have coming in, because Kevin Lawler said it looks, how I am when people knock me. He said, because I don't see very well and I don't like the looks of me with my glasses on, so I can't see the comments. Real quick, Adam, before we get into videotape, go ahead and tell us what people are saying.
So Greg Wayne says hello to both of you. Randy Lusk, Randy provided security there at the studios. He says hello, Brandon. A guy named Jeff Frog Wheeler. He says that he used to think that Brandon was kind of a prick, but over the years he found out through friends that you were. Wait, it gets better. Found out that you were actually a creative genius. He loved to hate you, and so he guessed that means you were pretty damn good at your job. Jeremy Gibson, he says he's in the house. Monday Power Hour, he loves it. And Jeff said, and I might add, I'm sorry I felt that way. But hey, there you go. I guess definitely, like you said there, you were doing your job back in the day.
You know, it's funny. You go back and you look at that stuff, and I had such a great opportunity, such a great platform. And I came from Dallas, and it was the Global Wrestling Federation on ESPN where I started. Then I moved to Memphis, and I knew some of Memphis. I knew obviously the biggest stars of Memphis, but man, to be able to go there and to be a part of the history. My debut was on Channel 5. It was June the 3rd of 1995. I'll never forget the date. I was scared to death because Randy sent me out to the audience and said, "Hey, you're going to be here later on today to confront Jerry Lawler. Go ahead and go out with the audience." So I was out in the audience dressed like I used to, which was a suit jacket, suit pants, but no shirt, long blonde hair. And of course, everybody in the Channel 5 audience kind of had an idea that something was going on. But that morning, I had never met Jerry Lawler. That's what I looked like right there. I had never met Jerry Lawler, and Lawler didn't get to TV as early as most of us did. And the next thing I know, I'm sitting out there in the audience, not even sure if Jerry the King Lawler is going to be there to show up. And he walks out, and it was such a surreal feeling. I was on the Channel 5 set with Lance Russell and Jerry the King Lawler, and that was my first day in Memphis. It was pretty incredible. The idea that I got to be heel and yell and scream, it was a whole bunch of fun. And Randy, there's so many stories. We probably have multiple episodes that we can do, but there were some people that told me early on that I was going to get killed off in Memphis because I was getting beat every single Monday night and every Tuesday in Louisville and every Saturday in Nashville. And I was getting tombstone by The Undertaker, power bomb by Sid, all these different things. I was lit on fire, tarred and feathered and all that. But the method to the madness was, hey, I was the guy who kept coming back. It was the Jimmy Hart philosophy that I wasn't even sure of, because you had guys stirring me up a little bit, saying, "Oh my gosh, you have heat," but they're going to take the heat away. But looking back on it, I was such an obnoxious prick, and I kept coming back, and I kept trash talking and running that mouth. And hopefully, for those of you who hated me at the time, maybe you'll figure out I'm not quite the prick I used to be.
Hey, right now, a little thing that we want to do. I want to first just get your memories of when we heard that we were going to do Rumble on the River and the thought process of how to build for it. Then we're going to play the 2 weeks before, and we have a little issue with that video. So when we play the Rumble on the River, we can talk over it. When we play this Brandon Baxter recap, we won't be able to talk over it. So I just wanted to get you a heads up there, and we'll play that. It's a 4-minute video. But just what's your memories of how this thing came about and our thought process on how to make you the key guy into setting it up?
Well, if we reflect back even a little bit further, I think we should probably start at the beginning and go back to, Power Pro launches in April of '98. I had moved back to Texas, moved back for Power Pro. What was going to happen with that? What was I going to do? The vision was I was going to be the top heel manager, and somebody didn't show up, and Randy ended up in an angle with Jerry Lawler, and I was kind of middle because Randy was the focus point heel in the biggest story that the company ever had. So what was I going to do? Here I am, a heel manager. I moved to Jonesboro to work Memphis Wrestling, and all of a sudden I didn't have a role, so we had to get creative. And we knew this thing was going to happen on July the 4th, and it was such a coming out party for us because, yes, we were on Channel 5 every single Saturday morning, but at the same point, man, the coming out party of being out there at Tom Lee Park, prime time on Channel 5, that was unheard of. We were breaking ground at that point. So when we got the news that, Channel 5 was going to be a part of this event at Tom Lee Park, and they were going to have live music and a carnival and food and all that kind of stuff, and they wanted our show to be live, it was almost like, wow, this has to be the best and the biggest show we could do, because this was no longer just Saturday morning wrestling. This was Channel 5 prime time on the 4th of July with thousands of people there who were probably hearing about Power Pro for the first time. And it was such a big deal. So how are we going to get that storyline? Because we needed to have patriotism. And I guess that's right where I went back and tried to go back to my family heritage and adopt my mom's culture. My mom's half Japanese, so kind of played in perfectly to July the 4th.
All right. First of all, Bo James in Falls Branch says hello from Falls Branch. We remember, what was Bo? Wasn't he one of the Randy Hale's goons?
Yeah, he was one of the bodyguards in one of the Scream masks. And Bo was always, I think I first met Bo traveling with Hanson Jimmy Valiant. And Bo was always a student of wrestling and always super nice to me. And, some of us in that crew, man, we just love to sit back and talk about those glory days of wrestling. And we were just thrilled to be there. We weren't those guys who were like, oh my gosh, how much money are we going to make here? We were just happy to be a part of that product. And I have great memories of Bo, and I follow him on social media and, see what he does. And man, it's funny how this has been a lot of years when you go back and look. It's, 24 years from the
Oh yeah, 24 years for sure. I want to say hello to Barry Hay from Blytheville, Arkansas. Barry, appreciate you watching right now. And Brandon, I bet it's been 24 years since you've watched this. And again, this particular video we can't talk over. We'll get your thoughts when we come out of it. So, Adam, roll the video. This is 2 weeks.
You would think that these people, this big television station, would have a clue. You would think Power Pro Wrestling would have a clue. Instead of putting Mr. Ratings, the female fantasy Brandon Baxter, on television, they run some commercial for what? The celebration on the river, the Star Spangled Celebration? I could care less about the Star Spangled Celebration, the little kids, the fireworks. Nobody cares about that. They want to see Brandon Baxter. They want to see the female fantasy. The 4th of July is just another miserable day. Is there a flag in here? Is there a flag in here anywhere? If there was a flag in here, I'd pull it right off the wall. I'd hold it out like this. I'd spit in it. I'd wad it up in a ball.
Brandon, that's enough. That's enough.
And I'd light it on fire.
No, we're not going to have that here. I promise you that. That won't happen in this television. You got it. Well,
I am not going to leave.
we'll just get some security.
Oh, what are you going to do? Take me off the air?
Yeah, well, we're going to take everything.
I'm going to burn you.
Hey, Creighton.
Get the security out here. Who? Some fan of...
Hey, no, it's not a fan. I tell you who is. This is Creighton Armour. He's the director of operations for this television station. One of the senior executives. That's who he is.
First of all, we do not appreciate you coming out to this television station trying to tell us how to program this television station.
Hey, Randy,
no problem with that, and I got a problem with you.
Hey, you got a problem with that?
Yeah, get him out of here, Randy.
Hey, I'm sorry about this, Frank. Shut up. You don't come out bad about this television station, and you don't tell us how to operate this television station. You don't talk about the Star Spangled Celebration. There are thousands of fans out here who appreciate what this television station does, and I don't like it. I got friends who didn't come back, and for you to come out here and badmouth this television station and the flag and Memphis and the fans, I got a problem with it. We're going to move wrestling down on the river, down to the Star Spangled Celebration, 7 o'clock. And it's going to be 100,000 American flags waving in front of you to see you go down, buddy.
I can't believe you would come out here and do that sort of thing. I have no more respect for this station.
Why don't you shut your mouth? Week after week, I've come out here,
That's right.
and people didn't seem to listen to me. But last week, it seems like I got a little bit of attention. It seems like I got everybody in Memphis and everybody in WMC TV5 listening to me. These people better shut up. Respect and honor may be real important, but Brandon Baxter is the man that gets the ratings. I should be all over this television station, and you people at TV5 just don't understand it. Creighton Armour came out here last week, and he tried to censor me. Why? This is America, right? And you people want to celebrate, but he tries to censor me because I'm telling everybody how I feel. I told you last week that there's a flag, and if I found a flag, I was going to hold it up, I was going to spit in it, wad it in the ball, and light it on fire.
You're not going to do that here.
I'm going to get my crew together, and in just a little bit, I'm going to do just that.
Hey, look, let me tell you.
Oh, not going to have that. Just put the flag down.
Baxter, you're not going to do this stuff.
Just put the flag down.
Hey,
Let's go ahead.
Put the flag
You have
down.
lighter?
You guys leave this flag alone.
Dave,
What are you doing out here? What are you doing out here?
exactly right. Creighton Armour out here.
I told you I was going to burn the flag, and I'm going to do it. This is none of your business. You give me that flag. You give me the flag right now, because I'm going to light it on fire.
Don't put your hands on me. Don't put your hands on me, Dave.
You give me the flag. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Next Saturday, the 4th of July, Power Pro Wrestling will not be seen at its regular time. We'll be coming to you live in prime time. 7 p.m. from Tom Lee Park down on the river. Be a part of the WMC family of stations Star Spangled Celebration. Join 100,000 patriotic Memphians as we witness an action-packed hour of hard-hitting wrestling action live from the banks of the Mississippi.
Brandon Baxter, our guest on the Power Hour, and Brandon has always been his own worst critic. Now, I would love for him to come on right here because a lot of times Brandon's always been like that. He's just not, he's critical of his work. And we were talking the other day, I was in the the K-Fine studio with Kelly, and we were telling stories, and you said I was always over the top. I thought that video we just saw, sure you did get over the top when you needed to be over the top, but you were calm. I thought that was fantastic. Now you tell your thoughts about that, and you tell me the last time you saw that video.
I haven't seen that probably since a couple weeks after we did it, and it brings back, I mean, golly, the memories, and you know, it was better than I would have thought. We reflected the other day on a lot of my work from that area, even Dallas to Memphis. I felt like I was so loud, and I guess wrestling was loud, and people were a little bit more of the yelling, screaming type of promo. But it's funny in hindsight, like how I would do that now would be probably a little bit different, because you have to get elevated when it's time, but you also have to be able to bring it back down to bring him closer to you. So, but it's not as bad as I thought. There's some stuff when I go back, I'm like, oh gosh, calm down just a little bit. Maybe you shouldn't have yelled so much. Maybe if I wasn't going so fast, I could have been a little more clear at times. But again, I think it was just different. You know, wrestling is so different. Entertainment's different. You know, we grew up, for those of us who grew up in the 80s and early 90s, we were used to the brother promos. You know, come on, brother, let me tell you something. We were so used to that. And the Macho Man and those over-the-top promos. You know, I guess when I look back on it, I'm like, I'd do it different now in 2022. But I'm pretty happy with that in hindsight.
Oh,
It
was excellent. Yeah, well, that hadn't changed. Anyway,
Hey.
Frog Wheeler wants to know how much heat you caught out on the street. And I can tell you, walked all around that Tom Lee Park and nobody messed with him. So people were ready to kill him when he walked down that ramp. But I'll let you answer the question. Did people mess with you about you talking the bad promo about America? Did that get heat on you in a dangerous way?
I think it was dangerous. It wasn't like the early 80s. I think people were kind of fired up. And again, people, for whatever reason, they get, for great reason, they get super patriotic around the 4th of July about the country. So here we are attacking what drives them crazy, which is us saying that we weren't going to be there, we're going to burn the flag and all that. I don't remember having trouble as we got to Tom Lee Park, but I do remember, and we'll see the angle coming up later on, I do remember it was one time I was pelted stuff and kids were throwing stuff. There was very little security out there there were so many people, and you'll see this on the television. The people there were fired up in the moment. I think outside of that, people kind of braided it maybe somewhat. It wasn't like the early 80s, but was there heat there from the crowd when it was supposed to be there? Oh, it was immense. And to me, probably the biggest reaction of that entire event, not because it was me, but because of the situation. We're there on the 4th of July with the flag, and we did a pretty big
deal. And you know, from a personal feelings that happened a few years later, Creighton Armour, not my favorite person. However, as somebody that did that as a representative from the TV station, I think he gets an A+ for his role. Do you agree?
He had great charisma. It was a natural charisma and a confidence that I think you could feel. Because most people, if you take a television executive and put them out on live television, there's no telling what that's going to look like or what that's going to sound like. He knew it. He had charisma. He knew what he wanted to say, and he knew how to put it over. I thought he was tremendous. Probably better.
Oh, no, he wasn't better than you. I want to bring Adam in real quick. And Adam, just a little technical thing. We are live as live can be. And I don't know if it's just me, Adam, but I am, in the beginning, it was perfect. Lately, I've been hearing a little distortion in Brandon's audio. Do you hear it, or is it just on my end?
Yeah, I do hear it. It may be a little bit of a connection issue or something, but I think it's still fine. But yeah, it is degraded ever so slightly.
All right. Brandon, did you do anything different since we've been on?
No, I've just been watching videos with you guys. I hear it myself. If you want me to do it,
all right.
Are we getting better? Adam, you tell me. And if not, we'll keep on.
No, it's still about the same. It's still about the same. If we go into the video and you want to try to work on something, that's fine. But it's definitely okay as it is.
I'll get it.
He's a perfectionist. Okay. Yeah, okay won't be good enough. But yeah, I knew when I said that, then he'd turn red and all that sort of thing. And our mics will be open. So during this Rumble on the River, it gives me absolute chills every time we see it. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Here we go. Rumble on the River, July the 4th, 98. And we have no audio. I jinxed us.
That's a heck of a scene right there.
Yeah, Brandon, do you hear the audio?
I'm not getting audio on my end, but I'm sitting here looking at the visual. And man, it's so neat.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable. And tell people how deadgum hot it was earlier in the day.
Oh gosh, it's probably, I mean, it's July in the Mid-South. I mean, when you think about that, it's probably, 95, 100 degrees. And you can tell, I mean, we're right down there by the river, probably not a whole lot of a breeze. I just remember it being steamy. And there was a shot there that showed that tent. That tent was our dressing room. And if you've ever been in a tent outdoors in the middle of the summer, that's not real comfortable. It's basically like you're hopping in a sauna and you're going to sit in that situation. So the talent, we all had to go outside of the tent into the 95-degree weather just to be able to cool off a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to suggest, Adam, if we can, because Panetta was not hearing. We have Panetta. She's the biggest Jerry Lawler fan ever. You probably see her on Twitter. She lives in Thailand. She wasn't hearing the audio. Brandon and I couldn't hear the audio. So, Adam, hopefully we can just delete the show and not the whole thing, but the Rumble on the River. If we can delete that, reload it, and go again, and hopefully we'll have audio.
There it is.
In the thing. Here we go. Here we go. Doing it again, Brandon.
Well, there they are, that crowd that was going to be pegging me with stuff here.
Tom Lee Park on the banks of the mighty Mississippi River as a part of the Stars.
How about that money shot right there with the river and the bridge? Give me chills, man.
That's pretty incredible. That's a beautiful shot. I forgot that we did that shot. And pyro. We didn't have pyro very often.
We did at the Blast Off on the Drome. We did at a few Jonesboro shows, and we did at this TV, and that's basically it.
Yeah, then when you see what this looks like, and again, you'll see the tent when they get that shot from like the helicopter, which the helicopter comes into play on this show too. That tent right there is the one that all the talent was in. And again, it was as hot as it could be inside that tent.
Historic first ever primetime viewing of TV5 Power Pro Wrestling. What a great show tonight. I'm Dave Brown.
I'm Corey Macklin right here at ringside.
And again, this is local wrestling in 1998.
Rumble on the River street fight here tonight.
It's a big deal.
Brandon Baxter, Dave, is going to have to do.
Now, when I say I'm more proud, there's a lot of Power Pro stuff and USWA stuff I'm proud of. When I picked this show out, just because of the fact the situation on 4th of July and it was live in prime time, I say this is the TV I'm most proud of. I think our best show. Would you agree?
I mean, definitely visually, it was the most exciting. We had a great amount of talent in as well. I mean, when you can start the show with Dr. Tom coming out, and I remember the first match. And I haven't looked at the format. You're going to tell me, Randy, because I didn't look at the format. But I remember the match because we wanted to spot with Dr. Tom, and we brought out one of the most charismatic individuals ever walked through Memphis wrestling. And you'll see his energy coming up here in just a few seconds because I still remember this.
Sure. Do you have any idea how many rough drafts we did of this show on paper?
Man, I'm sure we did a bunch, and we typically did for every show. This one, we felt a different pressure. Again, we knew this was prime time, and we knew this was for some people who didn't watch Saturday morning wrestling. And again, Power Pro is still relatively fresh. We knew we had the chance to reach a lot of people, not only on, but also there at Tom Lee Park. And Brian was having fun here. He loved to get out. He loved to be around fans on entrance. He loved to get those super hard high fives. And there's going to be somebody out here, I guarantee you, that regretted putting their hand up for Brian Pittsburgh because he would light people up if he wanted to. what an athlete. A ton of charisma. And at this point, maybe you remember better than I do. I guess Brian had already had a little bit of a run at WWF at the time by this point, right?
Yes, he was part-time for us. If you remember, him, just like you, did not appear on the very first Power Pro show. So he was in and out. By the way, I'm just curious, did you come to the station by yourself, or is Kyle with you?
Oh, no, I thought if we wanted to have any type of peace, not me being asked all kinds of questions, I needed to go up here alone.
Yeah, at this time, Brian was teaming with Scott Taylor for too much. Yeah, I appreciate it. I was telling Adam, you get up at 3:30 in the morning, you have a son and a wife, and everybody pulls you every way. That's why I don't try to pull you. But this particular show, and you being a key element in it, I thought it was a home run if you were able to do it. I'm so thankful that you were.
No, I'm excited to have the chance, and I should do it more often, just because it's fun for me to look back. I don't have a lot of time to sit back and look back on stuff. Now, if I wanted to be a little bit of constructism on us, I would have rather never take a show in the river because we're not showing as many people. The television side, because that shot right there, that's beautiful.
Right.
When you go back the other way, we see announcers. If they're not on the camera all the time, you're kind of seeing as many people. And there were a bunch of people out there. Some of that stuff, if you remember, we couldn't share that stuff because, we're trying to tell a TV station how to run a TV station.
Right. Absolutely. And there's one, if we go, I don't know if the shot you're talking about is the wide shot away from the river. If they pan out a little bit more, you can see it. It shows a lot. Now that shot right there, because there's tents in the stage, that shot doesn't bother me.
Not my favorite. But still at the same point, you see this in the background. But we're looking here at these two guys. And the reason you start, this event with the match like this, because these guys are going to go to tremendous teachers workers who had such a great history. So we knew we'll send these two guys out there. They were going to kill it right off the bat. And brilliant. When you look at the crew we had, who's better than Brian Christopher and Tom Pritchard to start the show?
Well, it was absolutely a home run. If you remember the Giant King we will see in a few minutes, Tom was his handler and his trainer, and he came with the big guy, and Cornette called and said, "Hey, Tom, Pritchard's coming in with your guy. You want to use him?" And I think the Tom Pritchard Brian Christopher match, I don't think we went with that to 2 or 3 days before. Honestly, I think we're going to go with Kid Wicked, and you see him in a few minutes, but I think we're going to go with Brian and Kid Wicked until Cornette called and said, "Do you want Tom Pritchard?" And we changed our mind there. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that sounds about right, because, obviously if we knew Tom was going to be there, why not start with Tom Pritchard? But, yeah, Kid Wicked, I was thinking about Tony Williams a few minutes ago, about how cool and hip and relevant he was for 1998. He was kind of progressive with the gimmick, and we'll see what he was doing. And he was trying to do something kind of outside the box, and there he is. He's in great shape at that point. And again, he was trying to do something different. He'd kind of been Brian's tag team partner and sidekick for so many years, and he wanted to break out. This was a great opportunity for him, and we really got to highlight Kid and Tony Williams at this point. He was one, especially early on, he was one of my favorite things about what we were doing because it was so fresh.
Do you remember he was out of the box on his promos? He out of his box, and I green-lighted every one of them. But Waller got hot and Dundee got hot. The business was just changing it. And that's one thing I think your influence a lot on me. You kept up with what was going on in the wrestling world. A lot of people wanted Power Pro to be just a copy of Memphis Wrestling. And I knew with you helping pod me along, we had to do dangerous stuff like Kid Wicked.
Yeah, and he was, he wanted something completely different. He wanted to break out of the shadows, and we gave him the platform. At that point, there was no greater platform in the Mid-South than Channel 5 Saturday morning TV. It was great. He really did did a great job at Joe doing what he was going to do, which was try to get this character over. And he did.
No doubt about that, as we will come back at it. Do you remember this? Listen, I love it.
Or shall I say full hit going on right now. I believe we've got a 19-man battle royal, and that means anything goes. This is going to get absolutely crazy. They can use chairs, they can use boards, they can use each other to hit each other if they want to, and an all-out free-for-all, as we understand it, Power Pro President Randy Hales, he's going to proclaim a new president tonight. Jerry Lawler not on the bill, and Jerry Lawler says, I don't think so. Be the biggest mistake you ever made. Join us down on the river. It's Power Pro Wrestling.
You know,
now, how's that, Brandon, for credibility?
It was Chopper 5. I mean, that's a huge deal to have that as a part of the show. I mean, there aren't very many wrestling shows probably ever. I can't tell you one. It's had a helicopter going over the show. Then we went through, and we'll see this a little bit, the streets of Memphis. I saw Bo James say a few minutes ago that Dr. Tom Pritchard still looks the same today.
Tom is part of the wrestling school. He is partners with Glenn Jacobs, the mayor of Knox County. Kane, they're partners together, and Bo goes up and helps them out with that from time to time. And I've seen Tom several times over the years, and he always never fails. I guess people put me and you together. Tom has always, every time I see him, same as Punky and Robert Gibson, they ask about how you're doing.
You know, I loved working with Tom. I had the chance. You put me in that position to manage the heavenly bodies. When Cornette was unavailable on the Memphis End of the Territory, USWA versus Smoky Mountain, I had the chance to work with Tom and Jimmy quite a bit, especially in the towns. You know, sometimes on Channel 5, we would have had Cornette send some audio in. But in the arenas, there were a lot of matches. I learned so much from Tom Pritchard. And obviously, so did a ton of the talent that went on to become huge stars. I mean, when you look at the greatest trainers in the history of the business, I mean, I don't know that there are very many better than Tom Pritchard. And everything that he did made sense. It was all logical. Everything had a reason. He never rushed anything. But look at here, just something as simple as the beg off. He knew how to work this crowd, and Brian did too.
No doubt about it.
Face plant, perfect. And you know Brian, Randy, when we look back and reflect on him, even though he had been, on the road with the WWF, he and his dad both. Oh, look at that. Nice bump, Bill Rush. Brian loved to wrestle in Memphis. He loved that connection with that crowd. He was thriving on this moment. This was special to him.
Yeah, Bruce, tell us, we can see your comment. And now, this is just a hell of a finish, a roll-up. That finish, I would say, would have either been Brian's or yours, one or the other, because I had big lot on me. So do you remember you or Brian laid out that finish?
I bet early on, I went comfortable to go to Brian at this point early in the Power Pro. I don't figure I was telling Brian Christopher what to do. If you remember, I came back in 98 and there was a little heat on me, so I had to make up for some mistakes of 1996.
Yeah, imagine that heat. And here we go. The same reason that got you heat. We're doing a inside wrestling program right here for the world to see. This, by the way, believe it or not, Brandon, what's interesting, this is just 12 shows into our run. 12 shows into the run.
And I don't know that we knew when we launched that we were going to have this opportunity. I think they wanted to see how it was going to go. Obviously, they knew they were going to do their 4th of July celebration. It already had to be in the works, but I don't think knew we were a part of this when we first launched.
No, I think maybe 3 weeks out.
Yeah, and then we had the opportunity. My gosh, we'd been crazy not to do this. And again, that's a great Memphis finish right there. Here comes a beautiful super kick right to teeth out. Now, Brian's super kick, man, it was always on. That reaction. He knew to get out. We had the 2 heels in the ring. I mean, just smart. Look at the kids. And
going crazy. Do you remember the numbers on this show?
I don't. I'm sure I haven't. I was a pack rat and kept everything that we had, all the formats, all the notes, all the ratings. I know everybody was happy with this one. And I think probably in consecutive years, we wish they would have gone back and done this again. Oh, there I am.
Let's listen.
Security and Creighton are. What he's trying to do is get out of here so he doesn't have to say the flag. But security is keeping him right there.
That's part of the agreement. He's here, he's stolen the van, he's stolen his dog. I'm not going to say it. Get your hands up.
Yeah, so I'm trying to leave at this point. That outfit, there's a funny story behind my outfit choice too, because I knew we were going to ruin these clothes, and I was not making great money at the time, so I bought less expensive clothes because I knew they were going to be ruined here a little bit.
Now I want you to
would have picked
see.
a bright green.
Yeah, and you have to tell this story in a little bit. As the music there, and it's just real quick, and we want to hear my promo because this was a big promo. But speak real quick of what a big deal James Estes from TV5 was with, helpful to us in the production, and how, to be honest, when he left, the production quality left with it. Do you agree?
No, James Estes was tremendous. He kind of guided us in those early days in the packages and the graphics. And he had a different vision. He wanted it to look different too. You know, he wanted Power Pro to look different than the USWA, CWA. He did a great job.
This entire city of Memphis, Tennessee.
What about Dave Brown and Gene? That's what
Right.
Jerry Lawler. And I was shocked, but you know, it comes a time where everybody knows that it is time, and Jerry Lawler knew that it was time. He knew he couldn't cut it anymore. He knew that he wasn't the king anymore. And Memphis wrestling is not Memphis wrestling without a king. So what I decided to do,
You know, one thing I think here, that it's kind of a copy of what they were doing in WWF with Vince and WCW with Eric, but I think this story between me and Waller, I think it just happened. I think it just fit, and I think it was just real strong stuff.
Well, I think that's one of the things people don't know is, you know, we never set out with the vision to make you a heel a la Vince McMahon and Eric Bischoff. But, you know, we had a no-show, and there was a promo. Waller was a master at promos, and he cut a promo that kind of painted you in an unfortunate light. And it was just a natural progression where that was going to go. There was no for you to be a heel. Now, we can say that in hindsight, but at the time, people thought, oh my gosh, they're just copying, they're trying to do the heel promote. That wasn't the vision, but it took off, and it worked. And that's one of the things
you said the people, Waller and I, about, let's go, we don't have to kayfabe, but I don't know, showed Waller, I said, go out with me on this interview, because we had built for a Dundee Idol main event, I was explaining it, and Lawler started making fun of me, and finally, I heard that the people were reacting, booing me for that, and I just said something smart, Alec, back to him, and he went. That whole segment led to this, and we did it without talking about it. It just, like you were saying, it just happened.
Well, everything that Jerry Lawler was a part of, if we're going to be, you know, this is what Brandon and Randy, we get credit for stuff from that era that some of that wasn't our stuff, but you know, if Lawler was going to be involved in something, he was going to be a heavy part of it, if not, you know, driving a lot of the train. He knew it. He felt it too. He was perceptive. He knew that this is where we needed to go. Even though I had moved there to become the top heel manager, it wasn't the time for that because of what was happening naturally.
You know what?
Giant Silva.
Yes, this was big giant Silva. Wait till you see this match. But the one thing I remember, you were obviously living in Jonesboro and going everywhere with me to the towns and a part of booking the television. But even though your role had changed, at least visibly toward me, I never remember you complaining. I never remember you trying to push yourself. You knew this was the right thing to do, right?
No, I did. It was the right thing to do, and I knew my time would come. This guy, I remember looking at Giant Silva back in that Giant 10. Again, it was 125. And he was sitting in a chair. The chair looked about like me sitting in a child's chair today. And I remember looking at his hands and just how gigantic his hands were, and even his fingers. They were massive. He was a huge dude. And sometimes when you take somebody up to WWF television, WWE now, they don't look as big because everybody's 6'2", 6'4". But this guy was massive, and when you put him in this ring, he looks even bigger.
Bo James is fixing to take
Here we go. Bo goes up.
the choke slam, and he said this was Silva's second match ever. This is, I don't remember this guy, Brandon or Adam. You might can tell me, but I think it was Bobby Bronze, Bo James, and was it Swole?
I tell you, look at him, baby. He's just slow choke
Ooh.
slam. Every last one of them.
Bo James says this is Silva's matchup. And yes, Swole.
They're all down. He's got bronze now. Like it's a center.
And here's the thing, there were no boo-boo faces about this one. Everybody knew that we had a role in this. We were building to a big event at the Mid-South Coliseum. Here we go. It's time to get this big guy over.
He just puts the speed on all three of them. He got him.
Three count. He got him.
You got to respect that about Bo. No, Bo's on with this man. Bo was always business. He was going to do what was right for business.
And
When it's time to get beat, when it's time to get beat.
And he had the time of his life. There is no doubt about it. We're just a week out of the blast off in the Dome, and we're building toward the July event in the Malice in the Palace that we would have. We're creating our main event in the Giant King. And the story was Lawler had kind of hinted he would retire. I said, Memphis has to have a king. And Adam, why don't you come back to me and Brandon right now, if you would. So if you remember the deal, the whole thing was the prior TV, Lawler wasn't happy with his performance at the blast off in the Dome, so he said maybe he's just going to strictly do announcing. So I came up and said, well, the Memphis has to have a king on 4th of July, man. We're going to announce the new king. Then Lawler said, Randy Hills, if you proclaim a new king, he called Dave, and Dave relayed the message, said, Lawler says if you do this, you'll regret it. So here we are, the first couple of segments into the show. And before we go back to the show, just your thoughts so far on the Star Spangled Celebration.
I think the visual is tremendous. I love the idea that we started with Brian and Tom. You go straight into the heat with the big monster. See, I was confused, and now I remember, now that you've said it, the blast off in the Dome was Lawler Kane, and then the second show was going to be the Giant King. I had it confused thinking we did the Giant King first. No, but so you bring in the big giant. Lawler's known for slaying the giants. That was his deal. The heels come in. They're going to run their mouths. They're going to beat up Lawler and, pull the strap at the very end weeks later. And that's how we made money. That's how Memphis made money for so many years. The King slayed the dragons, and Giant Silva was the next dragon being brought in by Randy Hales.
Now, let me ask you this, as Adam does a fantastic job. We talked about James Estes earlier. Months ago, maybe a year ago, James and I connected, and he's in Atlanta, and he's working for one of the networks and doing a great job. But he sent me all our original graphics that he had still saved. And that's what you see on the background for this show that Adam's built. As you see the live graphic, it's the original. And then Brandon using that, go ahead and go close up Brandon and put his lower third up there. How does that make you feel? And did you realize what we were doing? We're going back the same graphic as we did 24 years ago.
Oh yeah, I've seen it on all your stuff, and it brings back those memories. James had such a hand and such a vision in the early creation of what Power Pro was going to look like, from the graphics package to the desk, to the way that it was shot. If you think back to what Memphis wrestling was like in the 80s and early 90s, it was shot different than Power Pro. The desk was in a different spot. We wanted the show to still have that Memphis wrestling feel, but also to look new and to look fresh. And we're going to have a different presentation. And if you think about where we were as an industry, we had seen the Monday Night Wars. We're sitting there and we're competing visually with Monday Night Raw and Monday Nitro. So we had to do something different. It was going to be a studio show, but we wanted to look a little bit more edgy, a little bit more rugged, because that's where things were in 1998.
No doubt about that. What we'll do right now, we'll continue the Rumble on the River, July the 4th, 1998. Here we go.
Live in Sky 5 over the Star Spangled Celebration for the first ever Rumble on the River, brought to you by Jimmy Dean Foods and your local Ford dealer, where Randy Hales has just announced
Love that shot.
King for Power Pro
That's
Wrestling.
truly
The
Chopper
audience, the crowd
5.
has just gone
That's pretty
absolutely
incredible.
wild. I personally feel like taking the Sky 5 chopper and finding Jerry Lawler.
And when you think about this, just the visual that we still have a little bit of daylight, but the sun starts to set as we get set for the live music and the fireworks. I don't know if there was ever a vision. I guess we knew that the sun wasn't going to set too early, because I don't see any lighting around the ring. So.
No, the show was from 7 to 8, and I think we felt pretty good. And that's the money shot to me, just with them, instead of curtains in the background. You see the I-40 bridge and the people crossing, the flag in the background at the edge. This is as great as we go to Joe Birch, and this is a big deal too.
Oh my gosh, he was such a megastar in Memphis. I remember, if he'd come in on the weekends, he was, for those of you who didn't see Channel 5 as far as the news, Joe Birch was the 10 o'clock anchor. He was with Dave Brown, the top people on that television station. So for him to be out there, it just gave us more credibility. I just remember him walking through the dressing rooms. When we saw him walk through, I was like, oh my gosh, there's a big star. It's Joe Birch, because Joe Birch and Dave Brown were the stars in Channel 5.
Kim and Joe got to be right here. Well, as a matter of fact, pretty much where we are right now for the fireworks and all that.
But that shot is amazing. It almost looks like it's been superimposed.
We got another match.
It's like what they would do with here's the screen and what this looks like. We just put these guys in front of the green screen. But man, that's live right there. They had good lighting. Oh, here comes the superstar in Samantha.
Oh yeah. By the way, just for your information, I had Uber ride 2:30 left here Friday afternoon. I went by and picked up Bill Dundee. Don out of town, Jimmy Rhodes was with him, and I took him out to eat. And so Billy's Dundee said, hey mate, do you ever talk to that damn Baxter?
Well, yeah, I guess my weakness is the fact that I stay pretty busy, and I need to be better at working, staying in touch with people. Yeah, Bo James says, what would have happened if that guy rained out? I think that really was a concern. We started thinking, oh my goodness, and it doesn't look like it was the prettiest day at this point. It's really overcast. But talk about another great match. You come in here and you see you have superstar Bill Dundee and you have Billy Joe Travis, two mainstays in Memphis, and we knew these two guys could deliver. Bill, one of the biggest stars in the history of the territory, and Billy Joe, man, super underrated. Great baby face when he was young, and then a great cocky, arrogant, chicken type heel later on.
If you remember, Brandon, earlier in the afternoon, it rained cats and dogs. You would hung out with Derek or with somebody, and I went to the park and was real worried about that, but it was so hot. I remember touching the ring mat, and I'm thinking everybody will die in here, but the rain cooled it off. So actually, once we went live on the air, the weather was beautiful.
So that makes more sense for kind of the visual of the sky. But also for anybody who lives in the South, we know that right after it rains, man, it becomes even more humid. So that probably speaks to the amount of sweat out there. I notice, as we've seen, there are a lot of guys who are spending a whole lot of time on the campus. A lot of guys staying mobile. I know that's kind of a Memphis thing too, to stay moving. But goodness, nobody wanted to sit there on that campus. Even without the sun, it's hot.
One thing, just timing-wise, it worked out because the 4th of July happened on that Saturday, the TV show on Saturday, and it happened. The next year, obviously, it was on a Sunday, and so and it never went back around to Saturdays. But this would have been an annual type of event. If you remember that we went on at 7, then Cool and the gang, and then the fireworks was the main event of the show. Do you remember watching any of this concert?
I don't remember getting close to it, but we knew it was going on, and the big crowd was there, and their lights were up. That was a really big deal. And I guess Memphis has done the 4th of July celebration, for many years after that. But I don't remember it being quite like this at Tom Lee Park and being such a big deal. Maybe it was, and I just don't know.
No,
it was pretty revolutionary.
I think before it was downtown. Adam, do you remember where it used to be before we did it?
Shelby Farms.
Shelby Farms. No, even before Shelby Farms. Shelby Farms was after this, but it was a downtown area in Memphis. Adam, you know?
No, maybe it was Midtown. Here, you look at where we are, though, in this show, though. I mean, here's the Moondog and Billy Joe, Superstar Bill Dundee. I mean, it's pretty wild. Just the star power that we had rolling through. This is Memphis wrestling star power right there. I'm not exactly what happened to Samantha. Did I miss it?
She got a little bump. Now let's watch this, folks. This is what we build. This, and obviously look at the graphics on this on tour. This is just fantastic. This is, again, guys, I'm telling you with James Estes stuff, but the Brandon stuff and the crowning of the new king and Lawler threatening to come was what we're hyping for this show, and so far we're delivering what we have promised. How about this graphic, Brandon?
One thing I like about this that I don't remember seeing a whole lot of from Memphis was Power Pro based on James Estes. We're using the Channel 5 voice, and that's what he does radio now. The voice talent, just takes things to a different level. Obviously, if you have Lance Russell, Dave Brown, and Corey Macklin talking about the show, that's awesome. But in these pre-produced packages, that was a station voice, which is an expense for Channel 5, so they were hyper invested in what we were doing.
Pro Wrestling returns to the Mid-South Coliseum Tuesday night, July 21st.
And again, this was at the time where we got to run, we weren't running as many towns as we probably wanted to. But, man, we stayed pretty busy. There were 2 or 3 events a week, and Lawler at this point was running that casino in West Helena. It's just neat to go back. And, again, I probably should do it more often. I have every one of the master tapes somewhere at home. In my attic, there's about 1,500 VHS tapes.
Oh my goodness! Now let's watch this.
And one of the reasons why we're here tonight, Brandon Baxter and the stunts that he pulled the last few weeks in the studio, and right here tonight, Baxter, you're going to have to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Listen to me. You're going to have to do right here in the middle of the ring the Pledge of Allegiance in front of everybody else. No, you see. I told everybody on television I wasn't going to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and I am not going to say it tonight. I am leaving. No, you're not. You're going to do it right here. If not, you are finished with Power Pro Wrestling, Baxter.
I remember the adrenaline, Brady and Adam. I remember what this felt like. I was so excited, so fired up in this moment. And that's where I think some of the hyperness comes in.
I want you to talk about your performance after you do it. I think it's great.
Go ahead and look at me, because here it goes. I'd like to lead you to the flag of National American to the Republic for States. When it's done, got indivisible with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, just real fast, but
It gets heat. I didn't take it serious. You see people throwing stuff like,
Yeah.
out of the ring, obviously, was because we're a ton of.
I love that.
Yeah, that was when DX was hot, and there was no way that Dave Brown and Corey Macklin wanted that on Memphis TV, and that's a shoot. They didn't want that.
Total chaos.
Here's Creighton, the baby face from the TV station. We painted him in a great role, too.
Here comes
Right there, I
Spellbinder.
remember somebody threw something in my eye, saw me reach up. These kids were pretty intense. Tony Falk right there. The legend, Cowboy Tony. Two Falk for sure. Maybe the best headset guy in the business. Now, I remember this being pretty stiff. And that right there, I was thinking, oof. Was Spellbinder? I think he was Streak at this point, right?
Yes. And here we go.
Listen to the reaction. I love this shot. Probably my favorite shot right there.
Oh, people
Here go
going
the kids
crazy.
that throw and stuff.
Everybody did great. You were great. Everybody involved in that segment. Corey was great. Creighton was great. Everybody great. As we go to the break, then we will. No, I want to get this shot as we go to the break, but then we'll come back to us because Brandon has a funny story I want him to tell. But let's keep it running till we get out of Brandon. Is the people chanting USA, USA going crazy? Somebody asked, was that easy to clear out? And let's go ahead as we go into this battle royal. Brandon is leaving, going back to the back, and let's go out of this tape and we can come back into it and come back with Brandon if we could do that right now.
Yeah,
all right.
You were talking about the pain. I mean, that was not easy at all. We talked about this the other day in the studio, and it's one of my biggest memories from this event because, you know, obviously the red, white, and blue is awesome, and it's going to look tremendous on television. The thing that I didn't take into consideration was there's not a ton of showers out at Tom Lee Park. So you have this dude who has ruined his shirt and his jeans, and he's covered in red, white, and blue paint. And where in the heck am I supposed to get cleaned up? I'm not sure that we really thought through that whole process, Randy.
No, we didn't.
So I remember, and there was a porta potty right there by our dressing room tent. And again, 125 degrees in the tent, and probably 150 in a porta potty that didn't smell that good. And I remember having to get bottles of water, and we were just dumping bottles of water over the top of my head, trying to wash all of the paint off. And that was not an easy process, and it was messy. And I remember leaving paint on the porta potty. Whoever the porta potty people were, I'm sure they weren't very happy either. But then I go back and I reflect on, you know, it's kind of like the deal where you do the flour over the head. If you remember, you guys did that with me and Jimmy Valiant. And that was a mess too, because when that stuff gets there, you know, how do you get that junk off of your head? Because when you get flour wet, what happens? It becomes paste.
Right,
So
right.
I've had multiple issues with stuff like that.
For sure. So let's see what else happened. This battle royal, Wild and Woolly, and then the concluding angle of the show coming up later. Let's go to this battle royal.
And you realize the pace. We wanted the show to feel fast. This is in the era where, you know, WWE TV, WWF TV was, I mean, there was constantly stuff going on. We couldn't go as far as they were, but we knew we couldn't do, you know, old school. This is going to be a 15-minute match on television. We had to be quick paced. We had to keep the energy up.
Jimmy Dean, Bratwurst, Polish.
No doubt about it. And, you know, I think as we were watching this back and remembering the last segment, which was the Lawler segment, we didn't know because the logistics of that was going to be complicated. And I don't want to give it away right now. We went to that last break, and then we had more time than I thought we would have. So this doing a live remote broadcast was just something that I'd never done before. And a lot of people on this crew hadn't, and I think that it came across timing-wise, even though we had more time, but I think we covered it big time. So timing-wise, do you remember Brandon Adams asked a question about the production? When you weren't on the air, do you remember taking that golf cart and coming, driving, zooming down to the production truck and explain this shot right here, Brandon?
Yeah, this shot is shot with 5. they're tracking Jerry the King Lawler and Stacy because Lawler didn't want a new king to be crowned. So Lawler left his home. At that point, it was on Walnut Grove Road. And the helicopter, it was almost like a high-speed chase down the highway, where here comes the king. And again, we didn't know what traffic was going to be because that's legit live. This isn't one of those things we put on tape and just try to show later on. Like Lawler literally was driving the streets of Memphis. We might have been smart to try to pre-record that, but we didn't do that.
But we weren't smart then. We wanted it live. I live by live TV and die by live TV.
Well, the same thing with radio. You know, some radio shows can record stuff and stuff like that. But for those of us who did this in front of a crowd, the live performance, no net, such a rush. I love the fact that Aubrey Wayne is in the ring. And Aubrey was bigger than half of our crew as far as height.
No doubt. Oh, absolutely.
The idea we had the Moondog in, you know, and this is probably pretty early into his run when he came in. He was in off and on. It was always a jolt when he came in. And it was always interesting for him to be a babyface. There's Trey Keller, who went on to become Heinrich Franz Keller. I managed him. I guess that's pretty much probably immediately after the show.
Yes, and we lost Trey. He passed away as a young man.
Yeah, and he was, I worked with him as Heinrich Franz Keller, and I believe he also was miles long.
Yes.
It's also, we haven't mentioned Coco, but golly, I mean, when you look at who's in the ring, I mean, there's Coco Ware. Legit superstar in Memphis. Is that Ken Raper?
Yeah, I guess it is. I don't even remember using him.
Yep, it is. Love the fact that Adam, he knows more about this than we do.
I'm telling you, he's watched more of the shows, especially fairly recently, than either one of us.
There's Derek in his HBK outfit. If you remember at this point, Derek was, oh gosh. LeBron just took a wild bump out. But Derek was in the middle of his Mr. Personalities deal every week on TV. He'd come out as somebody different. He loved doing Shawn Michaels. He loved doing the Jeff Jarrett. Remember the time you had him do Kevin Sullivan, the Taskmaster? That didn't go quite as well.
Oh, I wouldn't think so. I don't know what I was thinking. Another thing, we just came,
he was doing the Jackie
out of.
Thing,
yeah, we just came out of the Jackie thing, and Derek proposing. She's saying yes, but with a but at the end of it. Just, I don't want to mean, kind of like we're patting ourselves on the back, but pat. This was good stuff. I mean, this wasn't the same old wrestling. This was a balance between the tradition the people were used to, but also for the newer generation fan that like WCW and WWF, they were getting some of that as well. I thought it was a perfect balance.
And we had to move forward a little bit. There's Ashley Hudson. But as I think about this, and we got heat for different things over the years and what people thought about creative. And I guess is that Tracy Smothers? There's Miss Tracy.
And we had Carl Fergie in there as well.
But for the stuff that we got heat from, some of it was our fault. Some of it wasn't our fault. There was some great stuff in Power Pro, and there was probably stuff that, and maybe you and I would argue about the stuff that we didn't like. The thing is, when you do a TV live every week on a limited budget, and sometimes you have a crew, and the next week you don't have a crew. Sometimes you have to make chicken salad.
Absolutely. This is an exciting match, and this is what that audience there needed. Talking about best eras, I think the first 20, probably 5 shows, 30 shows, the highlight of the run. We had better shows, certainly good shows after that, but I think the worst time period, remember when we had the Texas Outlaws and the Assassin and some of Don Bass's guy? I think that was the dark days. That's when we lost Waller and Developmental, and I think that was the worst time period of Power Pro.
Yeah, because one week you had a crew, the next week you didn't have a crew. But the thing you couldn't do was stop doing television. So all of a sudden we had to try to get a ton of new guys over. And it's always easier to get guys over when they're working with guys that are over. Ooh, wow. Yeah, but I mean, there's going to be parts of Power Pro. If you had me watch some of these shows, I'd sit here and say, golly, that's terrible. But I think that's kind of territory wrestling. Each territory had different phases, and there were good times and there were bad times. That's when the houses would come up. You could almost see it. When business was down, the TV wasn't as good. There probably aren't very many situations where the TV was great and the houses.
Looking good for him. He got Bulldog Reigns out of it, but Streak came in a little earlier tonight.
And that shot right there,
Brandon Baxter. And then he comes in here.
There's downtown Bruno. Bruno at this point had kind of gone into more of a management role, and then he kind of switched back and forth depending on what we needed at the time. But man, Bruno was always
Yeah, always awesome as Street comes out. And I think, as I love that, as Dave explained it, and we'll let the pictures tell the words.
We got to take a break here sometime soon. Lawler is in the park.
Yeah, that's just a convertible there that is driven into Tumbly Pond. I don't know where he is in the park.
How smart is that? The convertible, everybody can see him.
Pretty smart to go to break. What a tease that was, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, creatively, this was well thought out. But again, we felt the pressure.
Really going wild, let me tell you. Don't forget, Star Spangled Celebration continues after the Rumble on the River. Joe Birch and Kim Hendrew will be here in just a few minutes.
Everybody talks about David Lance, but Dave and Corey were good.
Oh, real good.
And he connected with the audience. People loved it. I did a couple of different things with him over the years as far as angles and matches. Golly, you talk about somebody being over who wasn't a regular performer. He was over.
Anywhere nearby. And we're going to be televising it live for all you folks at home for the first time ever this year. In the ring right now, I see the new Giant King. Randy's there. Randy's got a microphone. Let's see if we can pick up what Randy's saying.
Well, let's listen to the closing angle, the closing of the show.
Jerry Lawler in because Jerry Lawler is not a member of this company. He retired. He's not a part of Power Pro. So I'm telling you, you get out of the ring there and you stand there.
Bulldog Reigns.
Yeah, Bulldog was a nice guy too. I haven't seen him since toward the end of Power Pro.
How about this
We're
shot?
still trying to figure out how to get into the park. Oh, there he is. He's out of the car. Here comes Stacy with the King.
Security with.
I see him over there.
Where?
He's on that side, right over there, coming on the other side of the king.
Oh, okay. He's pretty close to the ring. He's going to be up at the ring area very soon. Randy's still in there. He's assigned security.
This just feels organic.
Out of the ring.
Not too late out. Because literally, we didn't know how Lawler was going to get there, how long it was going to take.
The new Giant King crowned early.
That's why, as we spill out in a minute, we had too much time, but we covered it. Here we go.
Lawler's timing. Let him register that he's there. Boom.
Well, so much for the lumberjacks that Randy put around the ring. Oh, he nails Randy.
What in the world? Lawler goes in and he nails Randy Hales. He's got Randy and the Giant King.
Notice the crown's still on the Giant's head until he headbutted him right there.
Wow.
Yeah, Bo James said, I think Bo said that was King Carl's crown and robe.
Lawler.
Yeah, because he wasn't the Giant King in the WWF. And Lawler's a big dude. Like, he's, yeah. But this guy's huge. And look at Stacy. I love working with him.
Listen when I grab her, the reaction of the people. Listen to this.
She added to the presentation of Lawler at this point.
Oh,
It let us go
absolutely.
in so many different directions. For both you and I. Because we both did
Right.
different things with him.
King, is he choking him? I can't see from here, but that's what it looks like.
And Lawler giving to the Giant King, he knew we needed to get this guy over. He showed up one day. We had to build a main event with him. And again, as Bo James said, his second match, I mean, it's a pretty big deal to be thrown in there with the King at the Mid-South Coliseum for the next big show.
This wasn't overthought at all. The physical stuff, not overthought. And watch this. The people go crazy. A simple thing.
Because it's not
Lawler
rushed.
Lawler makes a comeback. I just tell her to fire up on me. Watch her She gave me a hip toss twice. And people are
Randy
going
Hill's taking
bananas.
real bumps.
Yeah.
The last time that ever happened.
Hey.
And boom, so the Giant King gets away. Not much of the heat taken off of him. Lawler stands tall on the 4th of July. But he needs revenge. And his revenge comes at the Mid-South Coliseum. And listen to him. They're right with him.
And the Giant King left the crown, and now I'm telling him to distract Lawler because I knew I had to get in and get that crown.
The Giant King just out on the ground there.
It's a big old dude right there.
Big old dude.
Look at his head. It's almost at the top rope, standing on the ground.
Oh, yeah. Now, again, we didn't know how long this would take, and we're got plenty of time left. This was not on paper, but this is just Lawler knowing what to do. And just the reaction to that as we watch how we go off the air. I wish that we would have been off the air after the action, but it's live TV. I would have rather done it the way we did it than not get the end of the show and I get the mic.
You won my crown in July 21st at the Mid-South Coliseum. I'm telling you, I challenge you the biggest challenge of your life. But you're a coward, Lawler. You're a coward, man. Face him. It'll be the end of your career.
So, Randy saying Dave, July 21st at the Coliseum.
Get the plug into the Coliseum show as we ended the show. That was good.
Show up and wrestle this guy at the Coliseum on July 21st, or just we'll call you a coward.
Yeah.
Well, nobody's ever gotten away with calling Lawler.
And I don't know at this point if we were getting cues. I don't know if Lawler had a cue at this point, if he knew we were still on or not.
If that's what it takes, I guarantee you Lawler probably.
No, unless the cameraman was given cues. Maybe the referee. No, there wasn't a referee in the ring. I was going to say the IFB by the referee, but we had no referee.
Hey, yeah. I don't know if you can hear me or not, Randy Hales, but I'll tell you one thing. There's only been 2 kings in Memphis. Elvis Presley's one of them, and you're looking at the other one. You think that big idiot is going to come in and take my place? You got another thing coming.
Lawler says,
What a lie. What a freaking babyface.
He knows what he's doing, man, and it's perfect. We play this show on Jerry Lawler's day, May the 9th. First won the world title, 1988.
I don't think there's anybody ever in the history of the business who's been more all-around great at everything.
There's a half of Memphis is here right now. We can get it on right now.
Don't tell him I said that.
No, I've told him. He doesn't like hearing it.
Celebration is going to have to continue right now. Yeah.
But, I mean, golly, you look at the track record, and you look at what he's able to do and maximize every single second. Who's better at maximizing every second? Every
That's
look,
why we
every
all say
smile,
he's
every
the best.
smirk.
On July 21st. Wow. What a night we've had here tonight. The Rumble is a success.
It has been exciting, a huge.
I just remember this feeling like it flew by. Like, golly, this thing was
yeah.
15 minutes and it was an hour of television
It
time.
has indeed. Thousands upon thousands of people crowding the park, many of them around the wrestling ring. We thank you for joining us via your television at home. Be sure to join us at 11 next Saturday for TV5 Power Pro Wrestling.
Just the memories, man.
And that's the end of the show. 4th of July, 1998, and I have chills. Just real quick, because I want to do some rapid fire with you, and we got to get you home. You get up at 3:30 in the morning, but just sum that up. Do a Dave Meltzer here. Do you give that 2 stars, 5 stars, 8 stars, 50 stars? Your final thoughts watching that show after all these years.
Golly, you're going to put the pressure on me of a star rating. what is 4 or is 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 now perfect? I don't know. It's changed since my early days of watching or reading Meltzer. But, to me, that was exactly what we wanted it to be. That was a show that was going to highlight Jerry the King Lawler. We were going to build to the end. The most important thing on the show was that angle building to the Mid-South Coliseum. You take the biggest star of Memphis, you put the bright light on him. Second part was, the heel and the fact that it was July the 4th, and it was I was lucky to be a part of that. But then in between there, you had all these legends. I mean, I think when you go back and reflect it, and you said to me, you think this is one of the best shows that we ever did as Power Pro. I mean, it's complete. It's got everything. It has angles. It has drama. It has talent. It has stars. It has chaos. It has gimmicks. It was a pretty dang good show. And the visual, I don't know, and you would know, or Adam would know, or maybe anybody who's watching us tonight, I don't know that Memphis ever had a visual quite like that on television. We saw clips from the Coliseum, from Nashville, from Louisville, from the different towns, but I don't remember such a big scene quite like that.
No doubt about it. There's absolutely no doubt. And I want to do some rapid fires, but first of all, we talked earlier when I was bragging on you is that after Power Pro went away, you started radio. You ended up, your first morning show was Kiss in the Morning. And then several years ago, the legacy station in the market, you were all part of I don't know if you can say a rebranding or a relaunching, and you created Brandon Baxter in the Morning. And now here you are today with a perfect co-host and Kelly Perry. I love her. Listen to you guys every day. I see you guys every Wednesday when I pop in to do Bud Chappelle's show right in the studio next to you. But all the fans, if they would like to keep up with Brandon and the Baxter, if you like country music, even if you don't, it's the funniest show out there. And Brandon, I went to Memphis a lot lately, but I ended up listening to Kicks. I'm not saying this because I'm biased, which I am, but I know I can rate talent. I listen to the Kicks 106 morning show. You guys blow it away. It's an excellent show. So tell people how online they can stream K-Fine when you're on. And also, you do a podcast several times a week. Just smarten people up on how they can catch how Brandon Baxter is today.
Yes. So, we're on the radio every single morning on the big 107.9 K-Fine in Northeast Arkansas. If I can hear my audio, it's messed up a little bit. You can listen to us online at KFIN.com. You can download the K-Fine app as well. We're also now, our show's being syndicated throughout the state, so you can hear us in Stuttgart on Tree 97.3, in Dumas on the station KFE. We just now launched on River Country 102.3 in Russellville. And we're going to continue to take over the state. Arkansas's morning show is really kind of the vision. My socials, if you guys want to follow, there's going to be some wrestling, there's going to be some radio, there's going to be some life on my socials. On Facebook, Brandon Baxter in the morning. On Twitter, Brandon on BBITM. On Instagram, Brandon Baxter in the morning. I'm on TikTok. I'm not sure if Randy's even heard TikTok, but just started.
Yes, I have
Brandon
TikTok.
Baxter.
Yes,
You
I
have
have TikTok. Yes, I do. I've never looked at it, but I did. I got it.
And then our podcast, the Brandon Baxter in the Morning podcast. Our show, kind of the vision. Our boss, Bobby Caldwell, our general manager, Tyler, they described my show as studio wrestling because they grew up in Cross County, Arkansas. And they used to watch Memphis wrestling. And kind of the way I present is going to be, it's music and it's entertainment, but, there's going to be some stories and there's going to be some storylines and overarching things and themes and, hopefully some payoffs along the way as well. I look at it kind of different. And again, I owe so much to wrestling and the people that helped me and the fact that, wrestling can bring so much to your life. I don't have to still actively be in wrestling to still use wrestling lessons. And I do that on the radio every single morning.
And I'm listening every single day. Let's go rapid fire in this and let's get your home real quick. Your number one favorite memory as a kid watching world-class wrestling?
God, we just asked it. It was the deal that made me want to be a wrestler. It was Kerry Von Erich beating Ric Flair in Tech Stadium. It was May the 6th of 1984. That moment, it was the Parade of Champions in memory of David Von Erich. David had just passed away. Kerry was going to win the world title in honor of his brother David, and golly, I guarantee if you started that match right now, I could probably hit most of the lines in commentary with Mark Lawrence. That was the moment. That was the match that made me want to be a part of this. Kerry Von Erich was my hero, and I wanted to be just Kerry Von Erich. I wanted to grow up to be 6'4" and 260 pounds, and long hair and really strong looking. That really worked out
Real quick, and I want Adam, as I'm talking, put a picture up there as one of the early memories that you had wrestling. I want you to talk about, and you'll see the picture in a minute. One time you had too close of an introduction to somebody that later became close personal friend. I'm talking about Double J Jeff Jarrett. Go ahead and put that. And I want you to tell that story, as there's that picture of the blast off in the dome, and he blisters you with that guitar.
Yeah, so reflect on Jeff. Do you care if I reflect just for a second on kind of what Jeff Jarrett has meant to me?
Absolutely.
I knew you guys were tight. You kind of came up together in the car with him and Frank Morel and Jerry Jarrett and Tojo Yamamoto, and y'all were there. But for me, my first exposure to Jeff was when the Memphis territory was running Dallas. They'd come in, USWA Dallas, and came in. It was probably 88, maybe 87. But I know for sure 88 and 89. And I thought, man, he was so different because we had the Von Erichs. The Vons were, they were in and out at that point toward the late 80s. Eric Emmett was the top star. Then comes this young, good-looking, simply irresistible Jeff Jarrett. I love Jeff. So then getting to move here to work for this territory with you at the lead and Jerry Lawler, knowing that eventually see Jeff Jarrett. I remember being very nervous. I had the chance to meet Jeff a couple times in the USWA, but not that many. So, that night at the Mid-South Coliseum, it was myself. I was managing Billy Joe Travis against Jeff. And I remember going back into the dressing room and sitting down there, and we were going to try to figure out what was going on. And Jeff said, "What kind of ideas do you have?" And I remember thinking, golly, I don't have any ideas. Who am I to tell anybody in this deal? It was Billy Travis, Jeff Jarrett, Buddy Lale, and me. Which one of us didn't fit? I mean, dang, it was me. But I remember just thinking, man, he's so cool. And he looked like a star. He was on that big run. The guitar thing was a big deal. And I don't remember. I'm thinking, and maybe you'll remember this better than me, I think we probably ended up getting the guitar we were going to use. And as opposed to going for the larger guitar with more surface, I think you probably basically picked a ukulele, which had much less surface. And that guitar, whatever, this small little kid guitar, whatever it was, I'll never forget coming in. I took the kick to the stomach and bent me over. Here comes the guitar shot. A little nervous about the guitar shot anyway because I'd seen them explode. But this one, it didn't explode like the ones I'd seen on TV, the bigger guitar. This guitar came all the way and stuck on my neck. And you can see, if you go back early on in the show tonight and you watch, I guess it was 2 weeks out from the 4th of July, you can see me with a cut on my forehead, and that's because of the guitar. I laid there and I watched Billy Joe and Buddy Landell attack Jeff, and I had to pry the guitar off. So as opposed to the guitar exploding and going every which way, it stuck on my head, and it was sitting here. So my eyes were looking inside the guitar. I knew I had to get it off my head, so I pried the guitar off of my head, and at that point, the shards of the wood were just going right through it, scraping the entire part of my forehead. I remember thinking I looked like Abdullah the Butcher with the way my head looked. But I didn't complain. I knew not to bitch. I was just going to take it and have the battle scars to show that I took the guitar.
That's cool. And as we're talking about Jeff, will say here, and I did a review on a show, and it made me cry, and it was so real. And I love Jeff's podcast, My World. Did you happen to see the episode a few weeks ago, or listen to the episode a couple of weeks ago, From Hell to the Hall of Fame? It's the best podcast of any form I've ever seen in my life. It was tremendous. So talk about that, because actually, honestly, later on in life, Jeff had you involved in Global Force Wrestling. You guys traveled the road together, and part of the hell years that you actually saw. And for him to be able to kick that and be the man he is today is a freaking one of the greatest stories I've ever heard in your life. So just comment on My World, and if you listen to that, I know you did, that unbelievable podcast.
Yeah, that was when I wasn't going to miss. Again, Jeff and I got pretty tight with the Global Force deal. Initially, the vision was I was going to go in and work for him in TNA Impact. But then and you listen to the My World podcast, you know how that kind of stuff went on. And then Global Force was there, and Jeff wanted to give me an opportunity. And man, we did a lot of the groundwork, myself and Jeff and Kevin Sullivan, who now works for AEW in the production. We did a lot of that groundwork and worked really hard. I think, and this might be for another time, but I think we were a few years early with the Global Force concept. But I think we were all going the right direction. Just you had to find the right TV, and if you don't have TV, it's going to be tough, especially at that point. That was 2015. The wild thing about the Jeff story, because I spent a lot of time. I mean, he and I talked every single day, all day. We were on the road together, throughout the week. So when I think about him talking about the issues, if you're in the wrestling business and you grew up in the 80s and 90s, you probably did some things. And maybe overindulge. I think it's pretty much people know that. I was around Jeff a lot, and yeah, we both, I would have my beer, he would have a drink or two, but I never saw Jeff. Out of control. There was a different point, I think, right before he went into treatment. I wasn't around him as much, and I'm not sure if that's when the change came. But I know that when he went in, I had a text exchange with his wife, and I was heartbroken. Jeff was a hero to me. So to know that he was struggling and having to go into rehab, that bothered me and really affected me because I'm like, one of the strongest guys I know, one of the smartest guys I know, couldn't beat that. And I remember I cried to my wife, I cried to Karen, and we were just hoping and praying that Jeff was going to get better. And man, when he came out, Jeff was still one of the smartest guys I ever met in the wrestling business, one of the most studied guys I ever met. But all of a sudden, his mind was 100% clear. I didn't notice it, when we were going through it day to day, because it was almost kind of people did. But to talk to him today, last time I talked to him, which wasn't too long ago, I think he's the best Jeff mentally he probably has ever been. And he's grounded. He's more grounded. I think reality hits us as we get a little bit older and we realize what life is really supposed to be about. We realize the mistakes that we made. I think it's cool that Jeff learned those lessons. And man, his run's not over. His creative run's not over. There's no telling what he's going to do next, because the one thing you and I can both say about Jeff Jarrett is that he's always looking for the next thing. It doesn't matter, if when he was in WWF or WWE management, he was looking to push things forward and to figure out what was next, and that's still do it. And I know the podcast, we talked about this before he launched it, because I told him, hey, you need to launch podcasts. You need to launch podcasts. When I first heard Conrad and Bruce Pritchard, I wasn't really sure about it. And then as soon as Conrad was finally able to twist his arm and convince him, my conversations with Jeff after that were, wow, this whole podcast thing, you should have done it years before, because there's such a demand for shows just like this. People want to learn more, who want to kind of have us peel back the layers of the onion. I'm real proud of Jeff, and real proud for the fact that you're keeping the history and the lineage of Memphis Wrestling alive. So proud of Adam. I've met Adam a number of different times over the years, and it's always great to connect with him and to talk about Memphis Wrestling. So for you guys to offer me the opportunity and the platform to come in front of your audience, I appreciate that.
I appreciate you doing it, and we'll wrap up in a few minutes, but just rapid fire here. The favorite Brandon Baxter memory on USWA. Favorite USWA memory?
Gosh. To me, the one that stands out right now, and I'll try to be more rapid fire. I'm doing the granular stuff, as Jeff would say.
That's good. I just don't want you. I just don't want to get heat with Leslie by keeping you out too late. I'm just worried about myself.
No, hey, me too. No, but so you guys put me out there right off the bat with Sid, right? And I took the power bomb, the stretcher. That was one of my first weeks in Memphis. Undertaker deal. He was one of the biggest stars in the business at the time. I got to stand in the ring with Brian Lee and Doug Gilbert. Actually, Brian it might have been Jimmy Harris by the time we got to the arena. But anyway, I stood in the Mid-South Coliseum, and the gong went off, and here comes the Undertaker and Paul Bearer. It was surreal, Randy. That was a very surreal moment for me because, number one, I was a very young kid, and I was friends with Paul Bearer's son, Michael Moody. We ran the Sportatorium together. So for us to reconnect, this time with me in the business, and him to be Paul Bearer, and for us to be able to hug and talk and be there with the Undertaker, that's pretty incredible. Who can forget being lit on fire by Jerry the King Lawler? Like that's pretty special. You and I did a bunch of really great stuff. I remember getting an email one time from Jerry Jarrett, and I can't remember exactly where talent was. Maybe Lawler wasn't available for Nashville, but you and I were on top in Nashville, and some people might go, "Oh, damn, they were on top," but the angle worked, and it drew money. And I remember getting an email from Jerry Jarrett that talked about him remembering that. But just the idea in the USWA that I had the opportunity to work with so many great talents, the Rock and Roll Express, Buddy Landell, Tracy Smothers, PG-13, Brian Christopher, Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee. I mean, you go down and you look at all that. It was incredible. I would give anything to be able to go back and relive those years with the knowledge I have today. And there's a short answer.
Favorite Power Pro moment, and I am going to answer because you did a lot of stuff on Power Pro Wrestling as a kid growing up. I think it has to be your answer. So again, I'm going to try to answer it to you. The deal where we hooked you up with Michael Hayes, then Michael Hayes proclaiming from now on you were a free bird and you would come out with the Bad Street USA music. Is that your favorite Power Pro moment?
Yeah, the best. There's a couple things that are related to that, right? So obviously, I was a huge fan of Michael as a kid from Dallas. Michael Hayes is a legend. I had the chance to work with Michael in the Global Wrestling Federation 93, 94, I guess, a little bit in 95 with Jim Crockett. I had the opportunity to be around him. He saw something in me. He saw something in me that I didn't see. So I always loved that about Michael. And then when we had the opportunity, I remember, we were looking at who we could bring in to be a special featured talent for a show on a Friday night at the New Daisy and a Saturday at the Earl Bell. And as we looked at the talent, Doc Hendricks was on the list, but Doc Hendricks was an announcer. To us, that was Michael Hayes. And to us, there was no better story than bringing in Michael Hayes. So as I reflect, there's no doubt to me, working with Michael, getting to know him better, getting to finally be on television with him, the whole thing with Bad Street USA, getting to wrestle with him at the New Daisy, but even more especially for me at the Earl Bell in Jonesboro, Arkansas. To me, my biggest payoff ever was on a match here in Jonesboro because, we sold it out. And it sounds like, wrestler BS, but we really did. We packed Earl Bell, jam-packed it. The lighting grid was up because it was myself and Michael Hayes against Randy Hales, Jim Cornette, and Tony Falk. To me, that reaction was the greatest reaction I ever had in my life that night at the Earl Bell. And I truly believe that those experiences ended up leading to the radio opportunities, which have carried me for the next 21 years.
What's cool is I have a ton of stuff, and I think obviously I won't overdo it. Maybe with every 3 months or so, there's so much content, and I'm going to tell this story real quick. Is I did a thing with Brandon after being off out of wrestling for a long time, and he had the idea he wanted me to come to Fourth and the Forest event the radio station did. We did a personal angle on the radio where my nephew that I'm roommates with now, that's 26 years old, he called in. I was going to kill Brandon. That thing, Brandon made me relevant in my own market again, but the people believed it. Years later, the mall of Turtle Creek opened up. I happened to be in town for church. I went by, and so didn't know Brandon was having a remote. I walk up to Brandon. Brandon sees me, so he comes walking fast to me. We met and hugged and all that stuff. And then I hear in the background the fans say, "Oh my God, Randy Hills and Brandon Baxter together. Go get the police. There's going to be a fight." The thing about people could knock us, Brian Trammell could knock us, other people could knock us, but people believe not that we were Briscoe Funk or Lawler and Dundee. They believe we truly hate each other and we truly were fighting. And me and you worked. Hell, all these years later, we're working today. The chemistry is priceless.
No, you have the curiosity and you also have the knowledge. You don't have to be the best athlete in the world to be able to get a reaction. You have to make smart movements and decisions. I think we were able to do that, and we didn't push ourselves over anybody else necessarily. We were looking at the analytics. We were looking at television ratings. We were listening to reactions, and we were looking at the houses. And that's the analytics you look at. Were there better talents who ended up being lighter than me or Randy? Cheese, yes. Were there guys better in the ring from on every single show? 1,000,000% there were guys who were better in the ring. You had to be there that time, in that place, in that venue, or you had to be on that television at that time.
Hey, here's a blast from the past. Do you know who Julie Yates is?
Julie Yates, remind me.
You wrote me in and booked the craziest angle I was ever in.
Yes, I do.
Julie Yates is easy money. So hello, say hello
CBY.
to Easy Money.
Easy Money. Golly, that's been a long time. What year was that? Probably 99?
99, yes, absolutely. Isn't that something?
Julie from Nashville?
You had me do something. I thought, well, I can't really tell him no. I'm telling him to come up with ideas. I said, I can't do this, but it was great. We will finish with this, a crazy story. The craziest story of Jim Cornette. And to give you a little hint, because we didn't talk about it, we're talking about there's a couple of New Daisy incidents, but let's end with some Jim Cornette stories.
Okay, so I have a couple. And for whatever reason, Cornette was always right after the New Daisy. First of all, so we did the Michael Hayes match, and at the New Daisy, I don't think it was a handicap at the New Daisy. I think it was just me and Michael Hayes, you and Cornette, and maybe Tony was there. I know for sure that happened the next night. But Cornette talked about how, be careful, hit with your shooting punch because your working punch is going to kill me. And that Friday night at the New Daisy, for whatever reason, Michael hit Jim right on the top of the head, but he hit him as hard as he could. And Jim's teeth clanked together, and one of Jim's front teeth popped out. So that was a New Daisy story. Jim showed up on television the next morning, a tooth missing, all because of Michael Hayes, and had to wrestle with no tooth at the Earl Bell in Jonesboro the next night. And I remember KIT, the television station here, coming out doing a news report, and Cornette was being interviewed backstage with the news with the missing tooth. So there was the time we had a match, and I can't remember. Cornette did this deal where he would lay out. So after the match, he's blowed up and lay out, and typically you do that on the concrete because it was cool. There wasn't a lot of room in the New Daisy backstage, so Cornette goes out behind the New Daisy in the grass. Randy, I can still picture this like yesterday. He lays his hands straight out to next to him, and lays his hands in dog crap. And Cornette has a weak stomach, and I remember him looking up at his hand, realizing he had laid his hand in dog crap, and he started saying, and if you listen to this podcast, you know the words he would use. I'm not going to repeat most of them. But he was yelling and screaming, telling people to get out of the way. He was cussing the dog. He was cussing the Daisy because he had dog crap hanging off his hands. But the one you're talking about is the one where he wanted to leave the New Daisy. Yes. He wanted to get back to Louisville. So we dressed upstairs. It was myself and Randy, Jim Cornette, and his wife, Stacy Cornette. We called her Sin at the time. And Jim was ready to go. We did television on Saturday morning. It was late in the night at the New Daisy. And Jim was done for the night. The Battle Royal's going on, and Jim wants to get out. He gets out to his car, thinking he's going to leave before the crowd, and somebody's parked behind him. It ends up being either, I can't remember if it was the manager of the building or a bartender. But I just remember Cornette getting pissed off. And he came up there to where we dressed, and he was ranting and raving. And we thought this isn't going to go good. And Stacy alluded to that too. And we saw Jim go right out through the crowd. He left the stage, walked up through the crowd in the middle of the match, which is untypical Cornette, and he walked straight toward the bar. And he was looking for whoever's damn car was parked outside the New Daisy behind his car because he was ready to go to Louisville. And then I guess he turned the corner, went upstairs, and threw a little bit of a fit in an office and might have ripped a TV off the wall and knocked some stuff off a desk because he was ready to go and they weren't moving the car. So we knew this was happening, and Stacy gave us the heads up that chaos was going on and we needed to go out there and try to slow this down. True story. Sounds like wrestling lore. Sounds like it's bogus. Jim Cornette, as Randy and I run out the back door of the New Daisy, Jim Cornette literally has his baseball bat in hand. The car that's parked behind Jim's car is about to have its windshield and windows busted out. Literally, Cornette pulls back to swing as we walk out. I say, Jim, you can't do that. I grab the bat. Sirens go off. no lie, the police have been called because he destroyed the office, and the blue lights hit. I have to duck the bat into the bushes behind the building, and he got away and didn't get in a whole lot of trouble. I'm not sure our relationship with the New Daisy was ever the same after that. I'm not even sure.
No, I think we had 2 more shows and they dumped us. Thanks to,
yeah, but
to
it
Jim
was Cornette, man.
I appreciate you taking some time. I'll do the close after you go. So any big plans for the show in the morning, or do you have to lay it out when you get home tonight?
I got a lot of work to do when I get home. Plus, I got to try to catch up on what we missed on Monday Night Wrestling. I just appreciate the people who remember Memphis wrestling. I know I grew up on Dallas, but I love Memphis, and I've gone back, and there's not a night that goes by that I don't sit up late at night, turn on YouTube, and watch old Memphis. It was classic. It was amazing. The fact that the stories were so fast, that the chaos was there. To me, it holds up better than a lot of the other wrestling that you watch from the 80s. I mean, obviously, if you watch, the NWA and you're watching Dusty and Flair and the Four Horsemen of Rock and Roll, the Midnights, that holds up really well. But when you look at some of the territory stuff, sometimes it looks kind of boring, even stuff I grew up on. But Memphis wasn't boring. There was always stuff going on. You had great talkers. You had crazy energy. You had chaos. I'll forever love Memphis wrestling. And the fact that you keep it alive and that there's an audience for that, I really appreciate that. And I appreciate the opportunity. I know sometimes I'm not the easiest guy to get in touch with, and my life is pretty crazy. But thanks for carving out time for me. Thanks to Adam. Thanks to Bo. Thanks to Julie and everybody who's watched tonight.
Now, get it right. Easy money, easy money. We'll get you back in the next couple of months. You're always welcome to come on, and there's a lot of Brandon Baxter stuff to talk about. Thank you a lot, BB, and we'll listen to you in the morning on K-Fine.
I love you, man. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for my life. If it wasn't for you hiring me in 1995, who knows what would have happened. I had to work my butt off after that, but you opened a lot of doors for me, and I appreciate it.
I mean, if you were my son, I couldn't be so proud because I mean, hell, it's just thrilling to me that now I can be in the car and somebody's enjoying the radio and they say, "Man, that's the greatest show in the world," and I said, "Yeah, Brandon Baxter's one of my best friends." And it gets me over with them that I'm friends with you. I mean, it really does. So I'm proud of you, man.
I'm not sure if that speaks more about me or more about you.
Well, I don't know either, but I'm real proud, and we'll do this again. Thanks a lot. Go home.
Thanks, man. See you.
All right. Brandon Baxter, man, chills all over. I knew the chemistry would be right. The fit would be right. We've done the Power Pro Wrestling Watch Party before, and that's a great show. But somebody that was there with me, and as I get older, some stuff I don't remember, and other stuff, we need different viewpoints. And that was absolutely great. It was thrilling, almost 2 hours in. And I want to, before I go into the closing spiel, I want to get Adam, if he's able to come on right now. I hadn't seen him in a while. He's been pushing the buttons and all that. This is a show that and a guest that Adam has been looking forward to since we've been doing the shows. And certainly, besides a little minor audio issues that I don't know where it came or which end it came, it didn't matter. I didn't have anybody complain about it, man. I bet I'm up all night long just running through this in my mind. This was as perfect of a show, and I'll shut up and let you talk and let you tell what your thoughts was on this show. But it's just, in my opinion, it's the perfect show that we've ever done.
Yeah, and I'll just say, just super quickly, my personal experience with Brandon. Of course, Brandon talked about where he was in Dallas and with Global and did the Teen Beat thing and all of that. So, of course, when I was a young kid growing up in Memphis, I grew up on the latter part of USWA. And I'm not saying this just because I'm on the show with Randy, but basically, I grew up on Randy's Memphis wrestling. 95, 96, 97 USWA and all of Power Pro. And so I really wanted to do something with Power Pro. and I got the opportunity to ring announce on the Halloween show. I know it's Randy's absolute favorite show. Yeah, right. But the biggest thing that I remember about that is that was in '98. So I was 12. I think I was 12 years old. And I was in the back, and the person that walked up to me was Brandon Baxter. And he wrote down what the card was and handed it to me, and just kind of gave me some little pointers and tips for going out there to not be afraid or anything like that. And just coming from someone like him, who at the time I wasn't a big, I didn't even know much about Dallas wrestling at all, but of course over the years and going back, I can see kind of where that came from and probably why he kind of felt the need to kind of say that stuff to me, because he had done all of that himself. He was on TV as a very young kid in the Dallas area. So that was cool. And then I met him, reintroduced to him, Randy, when you still worked at the Bar and Grill. When I came down for Lance's funeral, we all spoke then, and we've spoke a couple times since then. And just always good to see Brandon. He's got a hell of a story, has had a wonderful career after wrestling, and it's just always good to see him. It's just good to see anybody who's in the wrestling business or used to be in the wrestling business being able to have such a successful career outside of the wrestling business, because a lot of time that's not the case. And like you pointed out, he's basically the number one talent in the Jonesboro market, has the number one morning show, and does a hell of a job with it. So very proud of him, and was really pleased to be able to have him as a guest here on the show with us tonight.
I'm very proud of you because the production part of it, the graphics that you've worked on, everything is looking real smooth and looking great for sure. Just looks like $1 million, and I appreciate that. As I will go into the closing part of the show by saying that Talking Memphis Wrestling tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, Michael St. John, Chris Ellis, and Pat Trammell will join me with Talking Memphis Wrestling tomorrow night at 7 Central on all our Facebook pages and also on Twitter. Right now, there's a delay in the YouTube stuff, and we'll not see it there at all. But Talking Memphis Wrestling coming at 7 o'clock, we will show the classic 1988 Lawler versus Kurt Hennig AWA World Championship match, where Lawler became the champion. We'll show that tomorrow night. We'll talk about that tomorrow night. Looking forward to that. Gentleman that just posted a comment, Scott Art, says the show looks great. I hope Scott, who is our special guest. Now, Scott is a great artist, does a lot of cool stuff, wrestling stuff, all kinds of stuff. He has Scott's Art Studio. He's on Facebook. He's all over the place. Again, does a great job at 7:45 my time, 8:45 his time. He is going to be the guest. We'll talk about his growing up watching Channel 3 wrestling. What do you say Channel 3 is? Channel 3 is where the wrestling played in Louisville, Kentucky every single Saturday at high noon, 12 o'clock. He would come to the Louisville Gardens. He's working on a lot of stuff for a lot of different people, including, I'm talking to him, negotiating a little business deal where he's going to design some t-shirts, theme wise, Power Pro, theme wise, the Randy Hales channel, the Randy Hales show. We're working on exciting stuff coming up. He will be on the show Tuesday night, and I'm looking forward to that. He'll be on at 7:45. Big show coming up on tomorrow night. Then a special show on Thursday. I guess I skipped over Wednesday morning, 953theticket.com. Front row with Bud Row at 9 o'clock Wednesday morning. Lance Smith, Smitty of APW Wrestling in Marianna, Arkansas, who is at a wrestling card in Ripley, Tennessee at the Power Pro Arena. Him and his partner in the Rock and Roll Express Farewell Tour. They'll be there Friday night, and you will see the Rock and Roll Express, my friend Smitty on the right with Tommy, his tag team partner, a big big card there on Washington Avenue. If I remember, on May the 13th, Friday night. Be sure to check that out. The bell doors open at 7 and the match time is 8, and that is Friday night. Then Saturday night, Mary Anna, Arkansas, APW Wrestling Convergence 2.0. It'll be Saturday night, and make sure you check that out in Marianna, Arkansas, Friday night. Wow, I'm blowed up. I am so fired up. I am so excited, and I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate all the support. Remember, everybody, if you have any comments, Randy Hill's MemphisWrestling.com. And I told you that wrong. It's Randy Hills. What's the heck's my email? RandyBittenhales@gmail.com. I'll get it right once. It's RandyBittenhales@gmail.com. Folks, I posted on my Twitter and on my Facebook because this beautiful new look, we got to pay money to be on this streaming service, and certainly there's a fee to do that. And people ask me all the time, hey, how can I help out? How can I help out? And certainly you can go to the PayPal, you can go to the Cash App, or you can go to the timeline on my Facebook or the timeline on my Twitter, and there's a link for donation. This will never be under a paywall. But if you like what you see, if you enjoy what you see, you can help us out. I'll let Adam have a final few words, and then I'll be back to get us out of here. Adam?
All right, yeah, and of course, always just want to mention Randy's book is available. You can get it through Amazon, or if you want a personalized copy of the book, you can go to RandyHillsMemphisWrestling.com, the Living the Dream book, the Randy Hales story, and you can get that from him. And yeah, Jeremy, tomorrow and Thursday, we'll have some shows coming up right here. I believe probably by the time the Thursday show comes around, we should be back on YouTube. But no YouTube today and no YouTube tomorrow. But we still are on Twitter. Apparently, you can see us on Twitter, but apparently, we're not seeing your comments on Twitter, and that's not uncommon. We've had that issue with Twitter over multiple platforms. But of course, you can see us on Randy's Facebook page, on the Power Pro Wrestling Facebook page, and on the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame Facebook page. And also Randy's website, RandyHellsMemphisWrestling.com. You can also go to officialMemphisWrestling.com, and that'll get you on the landing page for also being able to go to the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame, which is MemphisWrestlingHallOfFame.com. We've been keeping that updated with all the latest inductions and everyone that's been going in there. Just this past Saturday, we remembered Miss Christine Jarrett, who went in at the Monday Night Memories. She was the first woman ever inducted into the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. There'll be a few more coming this week. Look for those on Saturdays on the Facebook page. And also, as well, as Randy mentioned at the top of the show, of course, today being declared Jerry Lawler Day. It was a proclamation in both the city of Memphis by, I believe at the time, Mayor Dick Hackett, and also a proclamation in Shelby County as well. So it is Jerry Lawler Day, City of Memphis and Shelby County both. So just a fitting day to put that on there and to show that Jerry was inducted into the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame in this month back in 2017. So there we go, Randy. That's my last 2 cents. Now we'll turn things back over to you again right here on Jerry Lawler Day.
Thanks to Randy West. Thanks to Bo James. Thanks to Easy Money Julie. Thanks to Greg. Thanks to Barry Hay. Thanks to everybody that's had comments today. Appreciate it. Jeremy's been on so many. This has been great. Couldn't do the show without Adam Dunn. That makes us all look good. And certainly this show today, thank goodness. And we have pictures we can show because my relationship with Brandon Baxter started when he was a kid. It started in pro wrestling as a fan when he was on World Class Wrestling as a kid with team beat. And you see in later years, there's Brandon Baxter and I together, whether it was the USWA days, whether it was the Pro days, or whether it was me a couple of months ago in his studio of the big 107.9. Brandon Baxter and I have been close forever, like a son to me. And I appreciate everything, and I appreciate him being here today on this show. We are right now going to get out of here. Be back Tuesday night. Until then, for Adam Dunn and Brandon Baxter, it's Randy Hill saying bye-bye, everybody.
Power Pro Wrestling. Power Pro Wrestling.